Thank you, Jenny. Thank you to all our Taiwanese friends. I'm from the Tibetan community, and I'm here today to tell you all that the Tibetan people are with you in Taiwan. The Tibetan people stand with Hong Kong all the way. The Tibetan people are with you, all the Uyghurs, our friends in East Turkestan. You know, we've been talking about one country, two systems, right? Do you know what one country, two systems actually means? What does it mean? It means colonialism. It's just a fancy word for colonialism, right? We have one country, two systems in Xinjiang, in East Turkestan. Go check it out. There is concentration camps, right? China is the new Nazi Germany today. That is one country, two systems. We have one country, two systems in Tibet, starting from 1950. Since 1951, Tibet was the first experiment for one country, two systems, and it's been a spectacular disaster. It's complete failure. 1.2 million Tibetans died as a direct result of Chinese illegal occupation. So of course, one country, two systems is never going to work in Hong Kong either. As we can see taking place in the streets of Hong Kong right now, China always wants to tighten the screws one day after another until Hong Kong is suffocating. So we are completely in sympathy with our friends in Hong Kong. So Taiwan, for example. Taiwan is the real country that deserves to be in the United Nations. Does Taiwan deserve a seat in the UN? You know, for me, the question is not why Taiwan deserves to be in the UN. The question is, how come Taiwan is still not in the UN? You know all the countries that are in the United Nations? Do you know all these small countries that are in the UN today? Have you ever heard of Tuvalu? It's in the UN. Do you know about Grenada? You know about Malta? These are all really tiny countries with very, very small populations. Liechtenstein, countries that we cannot even pronounce. There's less than 30,000 people in some of these countries, right? But they all have a seat in the UN. Now look at Taiwan. Taiwan fulfills every standard that's required to have a seat in the United Nations. Nearly 24 million people on an island with clear territory. You know, there is no mistake between Taiwan and China. Taiwan is not China, and there is clear boundaries between Taiwan and China. If you're not sure about the borders between Taiwan and China, try crossing the border. You're going to die, right? You're going to drown. So Taiwan has the population, it has the clear borders. Taiwanese government controls its own territory, right? Many countries that have a seat in the UN cannot control their own borders, but Taiwan does. Taiwan has its own government. Taiwan has its own system. Right? It has a great system that respects human rights, that respects political liberties of its people, that respects the civil liberties. So Taiwan as a democratic nation, not just a democratic nation, as a liberal democratic nation that respects all individuals, all kinds of civil rights that people should have. Taiwan, more than any other country, deserves a seat in the United Nations. So why is Taiwan not in the UN? There is one simple answer. Because somebody is in the UN who doesn't deserve to be there. Who is it? China does not deserve to be on the Security Council. Right? A country that threatens the security of its neighbors. China is a country that threatens the security of Taiwan. It violates the security of Hong Kong. It completely destroyed the security of Uyghurs and Tibetans many years ago, right? And China now increasingly threatens the security of all the countries in the South China Sea, right? Philippines, Vietnam, many of these countries are really insecuritized these days by China. So China, of all countries, does not deserve to be on the Security Council. And you know what? There's another council that China doesn't deserve to be on. The Human Rights Council. Right? A state that violates the human rights of its own Chinese people day after day does not deserve to be on the Human Rights Council. The state that violates the human rights of Uyghurs and Tibetans and Hong Kong people every single day doesn't deserve to be on the Human Rights Council. But I want to be fair to China, okay? I think we should be fair to China. There is one institution where the Chinese leadership deserves to be on. What is that? Exactly.
Criminal court.
The Chinese government deserves to be in the International Criminal Court. Right? Not as a judge, okay? As a criminal. And as much as we are all working hard to make sure that Taiwan gets a seat in the UN, we all should also be working hard that Xi Jinping and his friends in the CCP end up in the International Criminal Court one day. That will bring justice to Taiwan, that will bring justice to Hong Kong, that will bring justice to the Uyghurs and the Tibetans and the Mongolians, that will bring justice to the millions of Chinese citizens who deserve to live in a free country, right? So when the CCP ends up in the International Criminal Court and face charges for their genocide in Xinjiang and for their genocide in Tibet, for their violation of security in Taiwan and Hong Kong, that will be the day that will guarantee that we all will have a chance to assure that Hong Kong gets its self-government and self-determination. We can make sure at that time that Taiwan gets a security guarantee and the international recognition that it deserves. And that day we can also make sure that the Uyghur people will have their own free Uyghur homeland and the Tibetan people will also be able to enjoy a free and independent Tibet. Thank you.
Because we are angry, and we are not standing here because we are bitter. We are here because we believe in a brighter and better future. We believe in a future where Tibet is free. We believe in a future where East Turkestan is free. We believe in a future where Hong Kong has no police brutality. And we believe in a future where freedom rings in Taiwan.